Welcome to another grief chat with your girls,
Yes.
Kara and Kens. Um, this is pretty exciting. Last week we said we were going to be trying something new, and this is what we're doing. So we're going to be trying out a new structure, which is recording our videos ahead of time and uploading them to a comfy new little spot on YouTube.
YouTube. So excited.
Yes, it's so exciting. I feel like this feels right. I've been thinking about it for some time now because I myself love watching lives on Instagram, but the one thing that irks me is I can't just like pause it and then go back to it and have it keep my spot, which irks me. I like being able to just pause it and then come back and finish it whenever I want to. And I think most people are probably in that same boat. So we're going to try it out. And you all can tell us what you think about it. But I'm hoping this is going to be more beneficial for the majority of those who watch our videos. So I'm very excited about it. We will continue posting on Wednesdays. So we'll make sure the video is available on Wednesdays. And then we'll still be using the content to post so that you know that there's a new video. So we'll still be sharing that stuff on Instagram. But you'll just be able to see the full length on YouTube and pause and go to certain sections. And it's just going to be better, I think, for more flexibility. So yes. I'm really excited.
I know, I'm so excited. We've been testing the waters with Instagram for a little while, and it just seems more user-friendly to take it to YouTube. We all know how to work YouTube, and one of my favorite things about it is that it kind of gives you closed captions. So I love to skim the cliff notes and figure out what part of the video do I want to watch. And that's what we really want to bring to the table for you all, is just an opportunity to jump in. And we know we're all living busy lives, and the last thing we want to do is get stuck scrolling into the empty abyss. So hopefully this will kind of bring some organization and some clarity, but we've gotten some great feedback too from you all. So thank you so much for all of you who have taken the time to watch our lives every Wednesday. Like Kara said, we'll still be posting every Wednesday, so you can still look forward to that. It's going to be more of like a highlight or like a clip of what the YouTube video, the longer one that you can kind of breeze through. So we're super stoked about this. Thank you for bearing with us with how we adjust. But yeah, we have something exciting for you guys tonight for our weekly talk. I love this topic more than I could probably put into words. So as soon as Kara brought this to me, I was like, yes, let's sink our teeth in and dig a little deeper into the human body. So
yes.
I don't know, you want to go ahead and send us into the topic?
Absolutely. And I am excited to talk about this topic. One, because it's something that I've experienced and I had no idea what was happening to me. And I kind of just felt like a brand new person. And I was like, whoa there. I don't feel like I'm thinking in the same ways that I was before loss. So it's something that's kind of near and dear to me. And then also, I just love your wisdom on the body and how it works and like what's happening that's causing these things. So I think you're the perfect person. I mean, you're always the perfect person for these conversations, but this one in particular, I'm going to love what you have to say. So I'm excited to dive in. And yeah, so it's for today's episode, we're going to be talking about grief brain. And what is it? How does grief affect our brains?
The first thing that jumped in my head was like chemo brain. You know, a lot of people I think are familiar with that little lingo, and that's kind of it kind of, they're similar in a sense, I think, and I know you know about it as well. So I'm excited to dive into this. But I think a lot of people, I want to address first, if you're new here, we first thing we want to always address is that grief is something that is not curable. Once it happens to you, it is a feeling more so, but it has physical, connections to it, and that I believe fully that we have up the power to like get it ahead of it if we understand how our body works, this vessel that we're operating. But yeah, I think it's a lot of times similar to like disease brain, or an illness brain, but it's hard to pinpoint, something that you can't cure or can't see. So
Yeah. Or that's talked about.
that too,
You just
yeah.
like
At
don't
least
even know.
cancer's talked about, and the resources are, there's a
Yeah.
lot of great resources out there for a lot of different types of diseases and illnesses. But grief is really, it's a tough one.
It
um
is.
it is,
Yeah.
yes.
Or like pregnancy brain. I just thought of that.
There, oh yeah,
That's a good one.
I
Like
should
people
know that
know a
one.
lot about
Good.
that.
That's what it
you,
is. Not
you've
now, but
experienced that.
yeah, long-term side effects.
Wild, wild. Well, if you didn't know, grief brain is a thing. And so that's what we're going to be diving into today. And basically, starting at the most basic level, losing a loved one is a form of trauma which affects our brains. And those effects include, but are not limited to, confusion, focus, processing information, memory loss, forgetfulness, sleep, etc. So it involves so many daily functions of our lives. And I read a quote from heart.org that said, this is talking about grief. It's psychological, but it affects people physically. And I feel like people always like they don't even know that, or they don't think that it could happen to them. It could affect them physically. And I don't think that is talked about enough, because we do tend to think of grief as something that just affects us emotionally or mentally, but it absolutely can affect us physically. It does, and probably
Mhm.
more often than we think.
Yes, I love that. And I think a lot of times my brain immediately goes to, I guess, how you physically cope after just the initial act of what is causing the trauma, not so much, separate from what the trauma is doing to you, what you do to cope. And so we do things a lot of time that don't totally help the condition of our brain or the condition of our body that we are, living in every day. So it's hard to separate that, and I feel like it's an act of knowing, an act of, you don't know until you know, or until you experience it. And unfortunately, that is a big part of life. I think a lot of us, either depends on where we learn that, but I think it's a very beautiful thing that you put it that way. And that's very freeing. That's a very freeing way to
Yeah.
look at life. Is sometimes things are psychological or physiological, and then they have physical side effects, and that takes some wrapping your head around, some belief there, belief in something, you know, and that takes some deep dive digging and understanding, who you are as a person, and what you choose to believe. But nonetheless, something that always jumps out at me too is understanding that, like, our body is literally energy. Like, we are made of atoms that are in a energetic beings, or organisms, excuse me, that in our body, when things happen to us, those energetic connections change. And a lot of times, like you just said, it creates physical symptoms or physical reactions. That's literally a chemical change, a chemical like imbalance. And I don't want to say imbalance in a negative way, imbalance as in something's different than it was the day before, and our body communicates that physically through how we feel, how we think, how we cope, how we act, how we talk, all the things. And it doesn't get talked about enough either, so it's like we have to look at and understand, or maybe learn from what happened to us the first time we experienced something. Not so much like bounce back and recover right after the first loss, but you're like, oh, I felt grief before, maybe I can go about it a different way because I know what I'm going to do to cope is going to change, or I'm already changing chemically. So I know what I'm going to do to cope is going to have to change some things physically too to be better. And so that's very
Yes.
heavy. I don't know. I know that was very heavy, but it's just super cool to think about your body as electric. Like it's like a machine, like your body is a car in a sense. And if you knew your battery was going to go through something or was going through something, you need to go to A to B, you need to check it and you take care of it. No different than our body. And we have to look at it like a machine. Like we can do things, we can change the oil a little bit, we can grease the gears.
Yes.
I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like hopeful too. That gives people
Yeah.
hope that like our bodies are like cars. So it's not like when we run out of gas, we're donezo. Like you can just add more gas and you
Yeah.
just kind of have to learn how to do that after loss because you're getting used to a whole new life
Yeah.
basically.
And I read something that was like, as long as you're breathing, you have the opportunity to, I don't know the end of the quote, but it was like, as long as you're breathing, you have opportunity. And I was just like, that's so great. Like, and very freeing, as long as you're breathing, you have options to
You
go.
do.
And that's hopeful. So
It is hopeful and I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
me
I found something that I think you're going to love.
okay. Let's
And
hear
it's
it.
a study, it's a scientific study. And so I thought this would be fun and cool to share. And also, some people like hearing like how it relates to science. So I think this would be a good example. But so basically, there was a study done by a scientist, Zoe Donaldson, at the University of Colorado Boulder, and she studies voles, which are a type of rodent, and the impact that loss has on them, which is wild. And the reason they're good for this study is because they mate for life, theoretically, like we do. So
Wow.
it's just like the way, I guess, the way that they experience things is good for studying their brains and kind of relating it to how humans might experience things. So it's very cool. Um, and even though the study is about mates, I think this is totally relatable to just like close relationships in general. And you'll understand why in a minute. So she found that there is extensive changes in the brain when voles mates go missing. And so basically, when the bond between vole mates is initially created, it changes the way the proteins are folded in the nucleus accumbens. I probably said that wrong because I'm not a
I
scientist,
think that was right.
but okay, great. And that is part of the brain that's involved in the reward network of the brain. I'll see if I can include a photo actually in this video if I can. That's like when I go to upload it because it's actually like cool to see exactly where it is.
Yeah.
But basically, over time, as the bond grows, there are neurons devoted to firing when we approach a mate. And as the bond grows, so do those neurons, which in layman's terms basically is just what signals to us that it's important to seek our people out and spend time with them. So when the voles are then separated, the scientist was seeing changes in things like stress hormones, dopamine, um, and neural and transcription changes. So now you think about us as humans. Our brain we have like a way bigger brain than rodents. So you can imagine the added layer of complexity when you're working with something of like more volume, like human brains, and how complex that could be for us. And so I'm just gonna pause there. That was it. But I think that it is also freeing to just hear that there is something psychological that happens in our brains when we lose people we love. It's something scientific happening in your brain when you lose someone. And I don't know what about that makes me feel like better. Like, I don't know, like, especially for us, like, the years keep coming by, they keep rolling, and we still obviously miss our people just like the day that it happened, right? So it's good to know that we're just like not crazy people. Like our brains
No,
changed.
entirely. And so a lot of times you also have to think about the well, one, the development of our brain and when things happen to us. And we talk about that all the time. Things happen to us right at 18, 16, 17, 18, around that time frame. And that's a very pivotal moment in the modern day society and how they have it set up. And so when you are throwing something traumatic in there, you would, think you either know how to operate in a traumatic state or you don't, or you've experienced it or you don't at that young age. And I mean, even younger than 18, some of us have experienced loss, childhood ages, and it's
Yeah.
just we're still developing. And we know that. And this, we've all heard the same old stories, but your body changes every 7 years. Your taste buds change every 7 years. Why do you think that happens? Well, it's because those neurons are changing. Your body is constantly changing. We are organic matter. And that's just a cool thing. And it's also beautiful to think about the fact that our body was literally built to heal itself. Just like plants can regrow, or, I mean, I hate this example, but lizards can regrow a tail. Same thing. We are built to heal. Our body wants to heal. It's the environment in which we live in that makes it harder or impossible, or just more difficult. And added to that, one of the things I have to talk about today, and this is, we love when we're synchronized, is neurons. So I know. So it's really exciting. I have some facts about neurons that I think you'll find really interesting. And that has really, it's so funny that you've brought it up first. It's also so funny that you feel comforted knowing about, how that works, because that's kind of what I have to talk about today. Because I got the same kind of feeling. And I love learning about not just how we can be in the world, but how we can use our bodies, right? And just like you said, neurons have these synapses that they communicate throughout our body when things happen. It's not just magic how we remember things, And so a big part of what I've kind of thought about a lot about on with grief is our memory. And a lot of times we know one of the physical symptoms of grief is not recalling certain things. We've lost part of our memory. I don't think it even gets specific on what parts of our memory. It's just loss of memory loss. And it doesn't pick and choose. It's kind of like disease. It doesn't choose what happens, but that is just to set the example of it impacts everybody physically different, which means it's going to impact your memory bank different. And so here's a fun fact about our brain, Kara, that you're going to love, given your background
Yay.
and what you like about life. So the word hippocampus is derived from the Greek words hippos, which means horse, and campos, which means sea monster. Because it vaguely resembles one. So I thought she would like that. Yes. Go Nessie.
Go Nessie, go Nessie,
I wrote
go.
many papers on Nessie growing up too, but not to your extent, but I just throw that in there.
I
I
hope you
believe.
still have them.
I'm sure my mom does in a hope chest somewhere.
I'm gonna
So
reach out to her.
yeah, right. So the hippocampus may be the gatekeeper of memory acquisition and delivery, working with that upper part of our brains, the cortex.
Mm-hmm.
And says when we need to retrieve a memory lodged in the cortex, the hippocampus may act as a mental librarian that calls for its retrieval. Okay. Which I thought was really cool, because another thing that happens, and I use this specifically for like how we cope, and that's also from Science magazine about memory. So I don't have the actual source or anything, but it's there in my hands. I'm a paper pen person. But another thing that that with my background, I like to talk about coping mechanisms and how we know how to cope and what happens when we choose the harder routes for our body to cope. And essentially, if you didn't know, I'll use alcohol as an example because that's what I used heavily when I was grieving. What happens when you drink alcohol, especially, and you think about if we did it at an early age or at an adolescent age when those neurons are still healing, what happens is we don't so when you drink alcohol and we use it at a high consumption level, it actually, what it does is shrinks the neurons in our brain. Okay, and the neurons are actually considered the nerve cells, and so our body has like 7 different hotspots for nerve cells, and these are nerve centers essentially. And what happens in the brain area is you drink alcohol, it makes them shrink. So this is also connected to a lot of memory diseases, so like Alzheimer's and the things that come normally with age, not grief induced or not trauma induced. But what happens is the to pro like to fight against the aging, or the secret, I guess, to great memory bank when you're older or having that perfect, so quote unquote, mindset is large neurons in your brain. So if you do the math, if we're drinking alcohol after going through something traumatic to emotional, like suppress those emotions, we're not doing our brain a favor. Those chemical imbalances are just going to keep happening, and you're probably going to continue to do damage. So it's really important to understand and identify those symptoms of grief and understand that grief brain, quote unquote, for me, it felt like maybe a blend of all of the categories in life that I was supposed to organize. I like couldn't see, like, I know we talk about this a lot. You were able to, I think, which didn't really benefit you in the long run, which nothing does when you're grieving, but tune it out, focus on school. I feel like I could not tune anything out. It was like it all overlapped. But I now recognize that was the chemicals in my brain. I wasn't coping well. I wasn't, talking to people about it. I wasn't surrounding myself with good people. I wasn't eating good food. I wasn't eating food, period, hardly. It was survival mode fully. Now I know my brain, and that's what got me to being so obsessed with the brain and body, is I know I did everything wrong. And now I'm like, whoa, I had a say that whole time. My neurons were so small. I was shrinking them. I was making them so small. They had no fighting chance at grieving. If your body, the chemicals in your body and the compounds and the atoms that make you up have no fighting chance, no nutritional chance at surviving, you physically as a person in this world aren't going to have much physical chance at surviving, or it's going to be way harder and you're going to prolong things.
Yeah.
So yeah,
incredible.
take a deep breath on that one.
You know what it makes me think of? I don't even know why this popped in my brain when you were explaining that, but it's no wonder that people have issues like or even like, I don't know, just any kind of like mental illness in general. And like it all starts with your brain and how things are happening in your brain. And like if you are using those coping mechanisms, like, and your cells and your neurons and whatever else is functioning in your brain, if they're not doing well, of course you're not going to feel well. Why would you? Because those are the things that make up you.
Yeah, it's like grief math or girl math or health math. I don't know how
grief
we can call
math.
that. Grief math is, of course, understanding that if the chemicals in my brain, like it literally is like math, like biology. And I'm going to get attacked by people by saying it like that, but sometimes you have to dumb it down to understand it, and especially life's big feelings. I think I'm never going to feel shame for dumbing it down as easy to understand as it can be, because
I need that because of my grief brain.
That's right. Grief for dummies is what I'm essentially creating for myself, like, a guide.
I love that. We should create a grief for dummies. That's a great idea. Yes.
We'll
I
come
love that.
come find us this time next year, and we'll have some kind of merch for you guys to partake
Yes.
in.
Yes, I love it.
Me too.
Um, I found another article that stated some things that I wanted to share as well,
Please.
and it was from Psychology Today. And the first thing says trauma can affect your brain's emotion networks to make you overreact or underreact to stressful situations. And then it also says trauma creates fixed neural networks that are isolated from other parts of your brain and resistant to, actually, my quote cut off, so let me make sure. Resistant to change. I feel like that's a big one because I totally experienced that. And it just like, if you were somebody who could have been more adaptable pre loss, and then post loss, you're not easily adaptable or flexible. It literally could be your brain. It
Yeah.
is your brain. And
I think
that's
that needs to be
wild.
normalized. I think that really needs to be
Yes.
normalized to understand that. And maybe it just takes me right back to people like asking you how you're doing. And maybe that's an
Yeah.
opportunity. If you get asked that a lot, maybe take that as an opportunity to look at yourself and say, okay, maybe if people are like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Because I know when I would get asked that, I would kind of shut down. And I think, I don't know, like maybe take that as an opportunity to be like, maybe my brain may need some help, you know. And I think a lot of times also our emotional state can really have a big impact on our physical body, you know, not just with grief, but everything else that goes with life, you know, on top of everything else. But you have to understand that your emotional state could be a big root cause of I'll call it disease, but it doesn't always have to be a specific disease, but like the disease that's riddled in your body, that negativity that you're storing. And that's where I feel like, again, I love talking about this because this is where I love, um, really getting it back in tune with your body and how just understanding what that even means, you know. And that's so complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is that like it's known that the top of our head is where we receive energy, like that is the where it enters, and through breath and through when we breathe in our body, it goes in like up through and out through our exhale. That is how energy flows through the energetic systems of our body. That is literally Eastern tradition, um, spiritual belief. Like that's literally the traditions they practice and they follow. Now, the more Western side and Christian world believes that we experience the physical world through humanity's existence. But it is a very real thing to understand that our bodies are energy. And so if we start kind of treating it like that, it's really beautiful what kind of happens because we open up ourselves to receiving a whole different type of light, just in love, self-love and compassion for what we're going through. And I think that in times of grief, we have to learn how to do that as human beings. We are human beings being human. Like we have to
Love it.
break it down. I'm not going to take credit for that, but I saw that and was like, that's so good.
It
Um,
is so good.
but the emotional state of in what which we live, emotional traumas, they are serious contributors to like the creators of stress. So I think that I just think learning how to separate that, like your emotional state from what's making you feel stressed, and like I've said this before, but calling it trauma, calling it what it is it was really freeing for me. So
Yeah, because it allows you to identify something that you can then work towards so that you're not just feeling so stuck and like there's no way to help yourself.
yeah,
There's always a way to help yourself. And that's why having conversations is really good for people because, I mean, I've gotten way more ideas just talking to you about these topics and like have learned more just by talking to you about these topics than I ever would have if I just was researching this stuff on my own. Like
yeah.
just talking to people, and that's like a way of healing in and of itself.
Yeah, human connection. And I think that's a big thing is like learning how to have human connection, external and internal. So like with yourself, having human connection with yourself. That is something I did not have when I was first going through it all. Like how to connect with yourself, how to understand how to use yourself to get through something hard and not having to rely on external things or something to numb the feelings I was feeling, like, and not having to fight other external human connection, because that's a whole different thing of where I didn't even want to talk about it to people. It took
Yeah.
me 7 years to talk about it to you. So
Yeah.
it's difficult.
Yeah.
But
it is really, really hard. And it took me 6 years to even recognize that I was avoiding my grief.
Yeah.
So it's, that's like a whole thing. But
whole other episode.
a whole nother episode, a whole nother big potato.
Yes.
But there's one thing that's interesting. I want to know if you know anything about this, because I personally was trying to research this and I really didn't find that much information, but I wanted to know, like, okay, if this stuff is happening in my brain, what can I do to strengthen the things that are lessened by the trauma and the grief? And the only thing I could find, which maybe is the answer, is neuroplasticity, which I know you know about, and I don't even really know that much about it.
So that's basically strengthening the connections of the neurons in your brain and making them more flexible and able to take on things and bounce back, I guess, is a big one. So there are ways, and that's just, strengthening those neurons, that connection, that the firing that happens, enlarging, growing your neurons. So doing things that support the growth of I guess I want to keep saying the word neurons. I need to learn some new nerve cells. We're all learning, but that's really the best thing to do. And there are activities that you can do that aren't, honestly, I would look for, if I were recommending anything for anybody, I would honestly look for the words, bioavailability or anything that has bioactivity, or I always go for things that have a biological effect on our cells. And that's basically creating lasting change. And there's a ton of just natural ways to go about doing that. And I would just encourage anyone to just start researching, start having those human connections with people who might know what they're talking about, and go with your gut, follow your intuition. If it feels and weird, then don't go with it.
Yes.
Always look for people who are willing to educate too on, like, oh, have you heard about why it's like this? Or, like, it shouldn't just be something that you could purchase and I don't know, expect a result out of. This is something that you're learning. It's
over time.
Over time that we have to constantly build.
I don't know. Constantly work towards. No,
lost.
I didn't, but I don't. I'm kind of sad that I don't hear her because I love listening to her.
I was wondering if the microphone was going to help with that. So I think she might be trying to come in, but we're just going to.
It did. I didn't hear her at all. Just cool. That's good for noise, but bad for me because I love her voice.
No, it's okay.
But I think that's beautiful. And that also, see, like, I'm learning things every day. I started taking this, I'm in this intuition activation mentorship with Zoe Greco. She's amazing. If you don't know who she is, please look her up and just take in all of her loving wisdom. She's amazing. But I'm in this mentorship, and one of the first things that we learned about was how, like, there's a key number here, and it's 21, and we talked about this today. But if you keep doing something, like you keep listening, like say you're listening to a mantra or you're trying to build a new habit and you're doing that for 21 days, that is the magical number that's going to set you on the trajectory of that being your reality. You give yourself 21 days to do it. So during this mentorship, I am listening to these mantras that are filling my brain with positive affirmations so that I can basically rewire the way my brain is. Because I need it.
Yes.
My grief brain needs it.
Gosh.
And it's already been great, but like, I'm so excited to see how I'm going to be 21 days from now.
Yes, and my dad used to say that all the time, that 21 it takes 21 days to rewire your brain, and that's just a pure example of what you can do that's free. You know, and I'm not saying that class is free, but I'm just saying that like you're putting in that effort, and that effort is free. That right
Yes.
there, you are making, like, even if it's like waking up, like you said, reading a mantra, reading the same sentence over and over again, or you know, every day, or reading a chapter in the book that it's that self-help book or that, you know, daily devotional book that you want to read. Do that for 21 days and you are rewiring the synapses, those electromagnetic firings in your brain. You are rewiring it. You're helping yourself. You're healing yourself. That's what you're doing, you know, and you have the ability to do that. You don't need a magic pill. You don't need, you know, you really just need to be barefoot outside and with the right intentions every day. Intentional wellness is a thing. Like, we just have to
Yes.
relearn it. We have to be taught it because it's not being taught to us. Does that
Yes.
make sense? Or maybe we have to teach it because it's not being taught to us. Maybe that's the better way of saying it.
Yeah. No, it's totally, totally true. And it makes me think of something I read a long time ago that was basically like, I was doing all this research on trauma and like on negative thought patterns and stuff because I definitely have been my own worst critic my entire life. And so I wanted to learn, number one, like what the root of it was. And then number two, how I'm 29 years old and I'm still like have these thought patterns. And basically, your brain, the way that the pathways in your brain are going to go to what's familiar to you. And that's the first thing that's going to happen in every single conversation and situation you are in. So that's why this 21-day like program, I don't know what you call it, 21-day guide or whatever you want to call it, is so important because, and think about that. I've lived 29 years of my life and my brain is programmed to think a certain way, and I'm taking the next 21 days and investing in myself to try to rewire the way my brain believes in myself so I can have confidence in myself. Like, and that's going to change the trajectory of my life.
Yes.
I
Yes,
am.
it
Sign me
is.
up.
But you have to
Sign me
want
up.
it. You have to want it. You have to be willing to want it, to do it, to show up every day. And that's a big thing about like when people look to be healed, quote unquote, or they look to have guidance for things like this, they a big part of it comes with understanding that you have to, we can't do the work, no one can do the work for you. You have to literally show up, and we are all equal here. Like, this is I can guide you
Yes.
as much as I can guide you, but you have to understand and want it just as bad. Like, and so I already want it for people. When I'm, you know, I'm a wellness consultant, so whenever I help my clients, I want it. I know what's possible on the other side of it. What they have to do is be willing to adjust, adapt, and just want it just as bad. And I always tell people, I'm like, if you can have half of as much passion as I have for what this could be, you're going to be successful, because it's just the matter of you wanting it, the right quality, the right everything of like what you want out of life, how you want to feel. And that's obtainable, but like, we can't do it for you. And there's no one out there,
Oh,
not a single soul on this earth, if they can say they can heal you and you don't have to do a dang thing, it's going to be fake, a lie, a scam, or something. Like, you have to understand the biological change that is happening in your body when you go through things and when you're trying to fix things. That is grief math. That is math.
that is grief
The
math.
math will be mathing if it all is, you know, of the highest quality and your intentions are in the right place.
100%. I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
Yes.
I agree. And look, you're always going to miss your people because they were so important and you loved them so, so much. That love is always going to be with you. I feel like my relationship with my dad is still going. Like, I love him more now than I did when I was 18 because that relationship doesn't die with
Mm-hmm.
the person.
Agreed.
You continue loving them and having a relationship just in a different way.
Yeah.
And so I want to caveat with that. But if you're in a place in your life where you are affected by the trauma you've experienced, by grief, I just want people to know that there are things that you can do to help your brain, help those beautiful little neurons in your brain, help those synapses. Is that what it's called? Is that right?
Synapses?
Okay.
Yeah, I think
synapses. And built, like, I don't know, I'm not a neuroscientist.
No,
but
getting there.
But it looks like a tree. I know it, like, you know, the little
Yes.
things, they look like a tree. And then when you're doing like the 21-day thing or like whatever, yes, that's what it looks like. It's
Here they are. These are your brains.
Look at them. They're touching each other.
They want to connect. They want to
They
be
do.
fat and lovely and big.
They do.
Oh, look at the
And
energy.
loving.
Look at the energy.
Yes.
Energizing.
So beautiful.
You didn't even hear me.
So beautiful. I can.
Yes.
It's great. And I just, if you're at the point in your life where you want to feel better, then you can do it, because I'm doing it. Ken's, you've done it. You're doing it. I know people that have done it and are doing it, and it is something you have to commit to doing every single day. And you can show up in really small ways. It could just be telling yourself an affirmation when you wake up in the morning. But you have to do that for yourself if you want to feel better. And I think all of us have to get to a point where we are real with ourselves, and we have to get to that point where we are just so sick of not feeling good that the benefit of being uncomfortable and trying something new and working towards something, even if it's hard, outweighs just staying the same.
Yeah.
And just letting your little neurons run in their cycles that they've always run in.
It's about patterns. I think it's recognizing the patterns that lead you to ultimately making big decisions. And it might be just a lot of little decisions, but eventually you have to recognize the patterns. I didn't know that growing up. I didn't know it was about pattern recognition, and even like with discipline, little life practices like that. It really does matter. And I think you're spot on. You're spot on there with that.
I love my neurons. I hope they know it. I'm working on you, neurons.
Oh, I know mine.
I'm working
know
on
it.
you.
We've come a long way. My neurons we know where we stand. It's just so cool because they're really considered the building blocks. They are the building blocks of our brain and where we are and who we are as people, what we experience, what we remember. We have to take care of them at all costs. And I think a big way that I something that I notice is the clients that come to me are never anyone who is, it's not never, but most of the time my clients are people who are exhausted. They feel like they've tried everything. They have hit a wall. And I feel like I recognize that in so many people because I watched my dad experience that when he was battling his cancer and everything. And he was grieving. We were all grieving. Oh my gosh, we didn't know it, but we were. And I feel like a big part of that is, I've lost my train of thought, Kara.
It's okay.
The worst time.
Grief brain.
I know it is. I blame it. I'm trying to get it back. I think it's gone. I'm gonna rewatch this and be so upset because I've lost my train of thought.
If you rewatch and remember, just you can.
I'm gonna have to put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments, girl.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry. I loathe when that happens to me.
It's just make it for more content coming. I'll make a whole post about it. Be like, remember
there
that
we go.
thought? We'll have a whole segment of my trains.
Hear that thought.
The trains that lost the track. Dang, it was good too.
It's okay. I believe that it will come back. I'm going to manifest it for you. It's going to come back, and then you're going to make a bomb-ass reel from it.
It is. We're going to do it.
Yes.
That's the cliffhanger for the evening. We'll just leave them hanging. I'll finish it later.
I'm dead. Okay. That was awesome. That was amazing. So you will hear more from Mackenzie on this. Okay. You'll hear more from her later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this conversation, and thank you for trying something new with me and us embarking on this new structure and format. I'm excited.
How else are we supposed to grow our neurons, right? That's what we're doing here. We're living.
And then this
is it. This is the neuron growth.
This is why we picked this exact topic for this exact week, doing this restructuring.
Oh my gosh. This is awesome.
This is awesome.
What day did you start your 21 days? I want to ask so we can keep accountable.
I started yesterday.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
So day 2.
Woo, girl. I can't wait to see. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I'll have to update everyone.
I was going to say no pressure so that you could literally never say anything about it. I'm going to give that disclosure. No one come hunting for Kara. She can never talk about this again, and we're going to be great. But I know how you are, and I'm so excited to see what you think, or even, debunk it for us. We love a good debunking. We love a good skeptic, right? We love people who are skeptical. So I say go ahead, and I'm super stoked to see what's on the other end of it. So far, you've left me hungry with wonder.
Hungry with wonder. Stop that. Stop it. That's so cute.
Oh, goodness. Not as cute as when I realized what I was going to be talking about. I honestly, the whole time you were talking, I was like thinking about it, and then all of a sudden something happened, and I looked.
Wait, do you remember now?
No.
Oh.
No, I don't. Sorry.
I got excited for a second.
Dang it.
That's okay. That's okay. More to come. That is grief brain. Listen, we didn't plan this, okay? This is the universe.
This is human beings being human.
Humans being human. It is.
Yes.
I loved this episode. I hope everyone out there got something from it. And now that we have a comfy little spot on YouTube, I want to hear from the people. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Please let us know what you learned or what you would like to learn more of.
Or what your thoughts are of us transitioning to a different platform. We want to know what you like. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
Yeah.
It's okay. But also, I wanted to know, did you want to end on, did we say the name? Did we say what we were calling it?
Oh, no.
I don't know. We can end on that. I don't know. Is that good?
We can. Okay. Oh, wait. Hold on. Uno momento. Okay. The Griever's Diary Studio!
Yay! The Griever's Diary Studio! Oh, heck yes. Oh, we're so excited. Okay, so yes, our YouTube hotspot is going to be considered the Griever Diary Studio. We cannot wait to continue educating and encouraging you all from our platform, talking about all things grief, and just hoping to educate the next generation with what they need to know about surviving all of life's big feelings.
Yes, all the little toppings for your baked potato. That's what we'll be talking about.
In the grief case.
All of it. In the grief case. It's okay. You can wrap it up in tinfoil first and then put it in your grief case because you do not want any messes in the grief case. Okay, we already got enough up in there.
I was to say, yes. We have messes are yes.
Messes are afoot.
Yes.
Thank you. I love you. I can't wait. I'm going to upload this and we're going to see what happens, guys. So wish us luck.
Yes, sounds good. Love you, Kara.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.